Eddie from beneath the Sandalwood Tree here, and the first thing you need to understand is that this isn't a story about a cheating husband. It's about the cold, calculating horror of a wife who chose to erase a family to save her own perfect image. Randy was weak, a pathetic man who couldn't cut the decades-long root of his love for Astrid and the inconvenient 10-month-old truth of their son Lael. But it was Ira, his wife, who applied the final fatal pressure, demanding not just his loyalty, but the absolute terrifying silence that only death could buy. She pushed her husband into that black SUV on August 7th, 2021, and watched him leave to bury his sin in the dry earth of Hollywood Park, proving that the most ruthless player in any broken romance is the one who understands that status is worth more than blood. Two agonizing months later, with Randy settled back into the quiet horror of his lie, the Earth finally gave up its secrets on October 30th, 2021, when two workers, Roby and Sam, were simply digging a hole for a water pipe in Pencas, the mundane task quickly turning to terror. That's when the stench hit them, a brutal, unmistakable odor rising from the ground, and they unearthed the black plastic garbage bags Randy had so coldly purchased, the plastic giving way to the sight of two tragically decayed bodies. The discovery, triggered by a simple utility dig in the exact neighborhood where Randy lived, was the ultimate, ruthless twist of fate, dragging the dark truth from the soil and into the light. The workers' hurried call to the Alacac Sector Police was the moment Randy's engineered peace shattered forever, confirming that the ground would not keep the secret of Astrid and of baby Lael, whose final, desperate truth had literally risen from the grave to scream his father's name. The Alacac Sector Police swarmed the site, and the moment the black plastic was peeled back, the silence of the grave was replaced by the cold, hard logic of forensic science. It didn't take long. DNA testing and the tragic familiarity of the clothes confirmed the unthinkable, connecting the decaying bodies directly to the missing persons report. It was Astrid and her baby Lael. The autopsy delivered the final, ruthless verdict. Not a car crash, not a sickness, but murder. Both had died from asphyxia, a chilling scientific term for the struggle to breathe, a confirmation that Randy's violence had been brutally intimate and absolute. The man who had walked away, cleaning his car and burning his clothes, was now exposed, his perfect lie shattered by two simple forensic facts. The two victims he had buried beneath the dirt of Pencas had been murdered by violence and lack of air, and the police now had the undeniable physical proof that pointed only to him. The investigation pivoted instantly from identification to pursuit. As police didn't need to guess, they had the cold, ruthless efficiency of the digital age on their side, tracing Astrid's phone signal and the damning final communications between her and Randy. The rented black SUV, which Randy had so meticulously cleaned, became his undoing. Investigators located the vehicle and pulled the GPS data, revealing the full, horrifying trajectory of that final night. The calculated drive from the city, the long, quiet wait near his house, and the exact chilling location in Pencas where the bodies are ultimately discovered. That electronic breadcrumb trail, combined with interviews from 24 witnesses, including Samuel, the rental owner, and David, the unsuspecting handyman, was more than circumstantial. It was a physical roadmap to a double murder. The police were no longer looking for a suspect. They were simply walking the digital path Randy had dug for himself, ensuring that his quiet lie would be definitively and publicly exposed. the intense, furious pressure from the public, demands for immediate arrest, calls for justice so sharp they rang like a threat of vengeance against the brutality of the crime, finally succeeded where his own conscience failed, proving that ruthlessness can only shield a man for so long. Randy, the meticulous planner who had coldly buried his family, could not withstand the collective, righteous anger of the community, and on December 2nd, 2021, precisely at noon, his nerve completely broke. In a final, desperate act of self-preservation, he was driven by a police officer relative to the East Nusa Tenggara Regional Police Headquarters, walking through those doors not as a grieving husband, but as a coward who had nowhere else left to run. The moment he surrendered, trading his freedom for sanctuary from the public's fury, confirmed the most sickening detail of all. Randy didn't fear God or the law, he only feared the consequences, proving that the ultimate price of his lie was a lifetime of looking over his shoulder, until his fear finally drove him into a jail cell. Randy, the man who had meticulously planned, executed, and buried his lover and his son, finally cracked under the harsh lights of the interrogation room, confessing everything. But his motive was the ultimate chilling act of ruthlessness. He claimed he did it to prove his love to his wife Ira. Think about the audacity of that statement, turning a double murder into a warped, bloody romantic gesture, confirming that the victims were nothing more than obstacles he had to remove for his wife's approval. The confession didn't stop there. Under questioning, Randy was eager to name Ira as his provoker, demonstrating the burial site and walking the police through every cold, calculated moment of the murder he committed to buy peace in his marriage, leaving us with the terrifying final question. Did Ira genuinely believe her hateful words would never be acted upon? Or did she, through her furious, insistent demands, become the silent, willing accomplice to the man who killed a woman and a baby just to prove he was worthy of her love? The digital trail didn't stop with Randy's phone. It led straight into his supposed sanctuary, exposing the cold, transactional heart of his marriage. Investigators polled the WhatsApp history between Randy and Ira and found the most sickening proof of his motive. A message from Randy sent after the murder, reading, "I love you. I did this so you would believe me." This was his confession to his wife, framing the suffocation of Astrid and the murder of their baby, Lael, as a gruesome, bloody gift meant to solidify his commitment. But Ira's reply was the final, chilling piece of the puzzle, a message so devoid of shock or remorse that it instantly moved her from a mere victim of betrayal to an active participant in the narrative of murder. Her chillingly detached response confirmed what police already suspected. She didn't just provoke the crime with her demands for peace, she quietly, ruthlessly accepted the double murder as a validation of Randy's love, proving that in this horrific case, the cost of a quiet marriage was the annihilation of a mother and child. Finally, 5 months after Randy's surrender, the full weight of the investigation swung to the woman who demanded peace. On May 25, 2022, Ira, the respectable schoolteacher, was officially detained as a suspect, charged with inciting the premeditated murder of Astrid and Lael. The evidence against her was cold, hard, and undeniable. The confiscated phones with the damning WhatsApp exchange, the GPS data that placed the murder weapon near her home, and even the digging tools used to bury the bodies. Despite the mountain of proof, the public outcry, and the sheer audacity of her husband's confession, Ira remained ruthless in her denial, clinging to her innocence, even as the world saw the monstrous bargain she made, trading a lover, a mother, and a baby for a quiet marriage. The tragic irony is complete. A case born of a simple, adulterous affair became a national obsession, exposing the dark truth that sometimes the greatest villains are the ones who look the most normal, and the true cost of keeping a secret is paid in blood and plastic bags. The filing of the case was the final, devastating public act. The police delivered their evidence, the GPS data, the chilling WhatsApp messages, the confession, and Ira's defiant denial to the Kupang City District Attorney, who wasted no time in submitting the double murder charge to the Kupang District Court. By May 11, 2022, Randy, the man who wanted nothing more than a quiet life, was seated at the defendant's table, the main player in a brutal drama that had captivated the nation. The trial wasn't just about justice for Astrid and Lael. It was a public dissection of every dark, ruthless choice he'd made, from the first clandestine affair to the cold-blooded disposal of his family. Now, the question hanging over the courtroom wasn't if he did it, but how the judicial system would weigh the cold terror of a man's need for peace against the immeasurable value of a young woman's love and the innocent life of her baby son. The court's verdict was delivered on August 24, 2022. A final, definitive judgment against the man who traded his family for silence. The Kupang District Court sentenced Randy to death. His immediate, panicked appeal to the High Court was swiftly rejected, and the final, desperate hope of his legal team, a Supreme Court appeal, met the same cold, hard justice on April 13, 2023. The gavel's final strike confirmed that, for Randy, the price of his ruthless peace was his own life. A final, irrevocable act that formally closed the book on a high school romance that began on the dusty hills of Rotendao and spiraled into a nightmare of betrayal and murder in Kupang. This wasn't just a legal ruling. It was the chilling, absolute conclusion to the question of how far a man would go to protect his lie, leaving us to forever remember Astrid and Lael, two victims whose vibrant lives were tragically extinguished by the cowardice of the man who chose a death sentence over the truth. But the courtroom drama wasn't over. Even as Randy exhausted his appeals, the slow, deliberate hand of justice reached for the woman who pulled the strings. In mid-2022, Ira's own file landed on the prosecutor's desk, and her trial began in July, her cold defiance facing a relentless prosecution demanding 20 years in prison for her role in the double murder. The charges were clear, resting on the weight of premeditated murder and child abuse, specifically citing her under the heavy shadow of the Penal Code's Article 340 and the Child Protection Law, proving that those chilling WhatsApp messages and her furious demands for peace were just as lethal as Randy's own hands. The state was arguing that Ira was no mere victim of an affair, but a ruthless conspirator who knowingly leveraged her husband's weakness to ensure Astrid and Lael were erased, forcing the court to decide whether she was truly a wife betrayed or the cold-blooded puppeteer of a man desperate to prove his love. The case against Ira hinged entirely on the icy, damning evidence of their WhatsApp thread, the same electronic confessions that secured Randy's death sentence, which the prosecution wielded as proof of her ruthless intent and direct incitement. Ira's defense team fought back, arguing that her poisonous words were nothing more than the emotional explosion of a betrayed wife, mere venting, not a literal command to murder. But the prosecutor's counterargument was absolute. The sheer pattern of Ira's demands, coupled with her chillingly unconcerned reaction to Randy's confession message, proved she wasn't just expressing anger, she was actively encouraging the destruction of Astrid and Lyle. In that courtroom, the judge wasn't just interpreting law, they were judging the very nature of human emotion, forced to determine where a wife's hysterical rage ends and a cold-blooded conspiracy to commit a double murder begins. The judge's final ruling was devastatingly precise. They acknowledged Ira hadn't physically strangled Astrid or smothered Lael, but they condemned her for a far more insidious crime, possessing the active, central role in lighting the fuse on Randy's murderous intent. The panel didn't mince words, painting Ira as a figure consumed by a corrosive mix of jealousy and hatred, a woman whose bitterness became the catalyst for a double homicide. And so, on March 3, 2023, the Kupang District Court delivered its final verdict on the puppet master, 20 years in prison, a sentence that confirmed that in this brutal triangle, the wife who demanded peace with ruthless words was just as culpable as the husband who used his hands. The case closed, leaving us to look at Astrid and little Lael, realizing they weren't victims of a moment of passion, but the collateral damage of a broken marriage and the cold, terrifying power of a scorned woman's command. The moment the 20-year sentence dropped, both sides of the case, Ira's defense desperate for acquittal, and the prosecution ruthlessly pushing for a harsher penalty, immediately appealed to the Kupang High Court. But the appellate judges saw the evidence for what it was: the chilling WhatsApp messages, the demands for silence, the years of corrosive jealousy. The High Court, on April 6, 2023, firmly upheld the original ruling, declaring that Ira's motive and deep involvement were clearly proven, and the 20-year sentence was both legally sound and perfectly proportional to her crime. Yet, in a final, agonizing twist of the judicial knife, on October 26, 2023, the Supreme Court partially granted her final appeal, shaving her sentence down to 18 years. It was a small victory for the defense, but for the family of Astrid and little Lael, it meant that the woman who had demanded their execution would walk free 2 years sooner, a final, agonizing reminder that even after justice is served, the ultimate, unfathomable price is still borne by the victims. And this is where our story ends, for now. Randy, the man who yearned for a quiet life, is confined to his final, inescapable space on Earth, awaiting his execution in the maximum security walls of Class 2A Kupang Correctional Institution, the island's most brutal reckoning. Across the city, his partner in this horrific betrayal, Ira, is serving her reduced sentence in the cold solitude of the Class 2B Kupang Women's Correctional Institution, her ambition, her jealousy, and her ruthless words having bought her 18 years of caged time. They are physically separated, yet forever bound by the two bodies they buried: Astrid, whose fierce love was repaid with strangulation, and little Lael, whose innocent life was extinguished for the sake of a lie. Their cells stand as permanent, chilling monuments to the dark question we started with. What do you do when the cost of keeping a secret becomes the annihilation of your own family? And can true love ever recover from the ultimate betrayal? The final, harrowing truth is this: Astrid and Liel are not just grim headlines, they are the devastating consequence of a man's cowardice and a woman's ruthless rage, proving that a lie, no matter how desperately buried, will always find its way back to the surface. Their fate stands as a somber warning to every person who believes they can choose convenience over integrity, reminding us that emotional avoidance is never free, and the pursuit of a peaceful lie will always lead to an unimaginable price being paid by the innocent. Randy sits on death row and Ira serves her time, but the real haunting moral lesson is etched into the dry ground of Pencase, a testament to the fact that when you value reputation over honesty and choose to eliminate your problems rather than face them, you don't just destroy lives, you destroy your very soul. This is Letty signing off from beneath the Sandalwood Tree. If this case of jealousy, betrayal, and murder shocked you as much as it did us, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into true crime. But most importantly, tell us what you think. What was the true motive here? Was it Randy's cowardice or Ira's calculated jealousy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we will see you next time.